Some might believe this to be a tired concept, one that's used over and over again, but the reason why it's used so much is because it's an interesting question. What would have happened if Naruto, from the very beginning of the story, knew what was going to happen and had the power to fix it? Not long ago, I made a what if that sort of followed this line of thinking, in that Boruto traveled back in time to be with Naruto, and there things didn't work out that well, but that was because he was Boruto. Boruto did not experience any of the things Naruto had, nor did he have the wisdom of age to know how to properly alter things without ruining everything, but Naruto should have such a thing. It makes me truly wonder what could have happened if Naruto had known from the beginning what would happen and had the power to do something about it. So join me now for a video that I've been hoping to make for a while. What if Naruto was reborn with all of his memories and abilities? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you're subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, to keep in line with Naruto being reborn with all of his powers and abilities, something must happen as well. Kurama too must possess his abilities and memories. To do that without having to rewrite his entire history, I'm planning to use the concept of awakening or possession to explain this. In other words, Kurama continues to act as he always would, but the moment he's sealed into Naruto, Naruto's memories and abilities affect him and make him more agreeable from the start. If I didn't do this, then the title would be a lie, since Kurama at full power would count as some of Naruto's abilities. So with that out of the way, let's begin. On October 10th, Naruto is born. However, as soon as he comes out, the doctors and nurses are astounded because he does not cry. This actually causes a bit of anxiety within Minato and Kushina, who wonder why. The age-old fear all parents must worry about during birth is the fear that their child is stillborn. But the nurses and doctors offer them some peace in telling them that the child is already breathing on its own and it's awake and conscious. They bring the babe to its mother, where Kushina looks into the stark blue of its eyes and lets off a smile. To her surprise, the baby too lets off a smile and a small giggle. Truly astounding. To be fair with you, even though Naruto at this point does maintain his memories, his physical and cognitive functions are still that of a baby, so I wouldn't expect him to simply murder Obito when he shows up. Wouldn't seem right. I know I said he's reborn with all of his abilities and memories, but let's be real. You don't want to see a 5-minute-old baby destroy a veteran of a world war. There's gotta be a limit somewhere. So here is that limit. When Obito does eventually come, Naruto is still helpless to stop him, and this would result in the capture of Kushina and the eventual release of the Nine Tails. During this time, Naruto is overcome with drowsiness because birth is not only rough on the mother, but on the child as well. Minato brings the baby back to their home, where he lays it out on the bed and ensures that he's properly covered and warm, and goes to bring back his mother, which of course he does. He lays Kushina beside Naruto and allows her to cuddle and keep him safe and warm. Despite this, the baby does begin to cry. The reason being, since the memories of the past still exist within its head, even at only a subconscious level, this child knows its mother is going to die, and that brings it pain. It cries, but does not push Kushina away. It displays the need to draw closer to her, but is too feeble to move on its own. Deep down in her heart, Kushina knows what Naruto desires, so she pulls him closer to her to give him his desires and fulfill his needs. But all the same, the original events continue. Naruto witnesses his mother and father facing the Nine Tails, only for them to sacrifice their lives to seal it into the child. The moment that Kurama is sealed into Naruto, it's as if all the memories of the future and everything that would ever happen to him is revealed to him all at once. Immediately, his heart is opened and his mind is calmed. But a few moments earlier, Kurama had believed that this was going to be the worst fate that a tailed beast could suffer, being trapped inside the body of not just any human, but an infant. But now that he was here, some force across space and time had suddenly given him understanding, as if fate had allowed Kurama in that moment to experience a lifetime of memories in the span of a single moment. Kurama was now aware of who and what he and Naruto were. They weren't just a Jinchuriki and its prisoner, they were a dyad. They were friends. As the child cried, he witnessed the feelings in its heart, the language without words that was bred into all of humanity to speak. He heard Naruto's heart. Why did they have to die? Why couldn't I save them? He said to himself as tears rolled down his tiny cheeks. Kurama, coming closer to the energy, offering some of his chakra as a balm, would soothe the child, his heart speaking the only language that they shared. He would tell the infant not to blame himself, and while it was painful, there were some things that needed to happen, and that if they had never sacrificed themselves, Naruto and Kurama would have never met, and Naruto's ability to save the world would be severely hindered. From here, the child is taken by Hiruzen, who would have it raised until it could live on its own. From this point, as Naruto's cognitive functions began to increase, so too does his ability to recall everything. At about the age of 2, his memory recall was to a point that he could read his own life out like a storybook or an omnibus of shonen manga. One day, he simply awakened and possessed over 32 years worth of experience, and with that, Naruto would sigh, "It's so wonderful to be a child again." Naruto continues to live his life, but as he does so, his mood is significantly happier. While it is true that the village still detests him, he continues to live happily, having already seen the ending from the beginning, and so this leaves him with a more happy-go-lucky nature. When Hiruzen comes by, Naruto is far more cordial than he'd normally be. He's kinder, more understanding, and bears a maturity unseen in a child his age, particularly in his situation. This brings Hiruzen a smile, but now Naruto, having reached a certain age, realizes what is going to happen next. Naruto, at this time, is about 6 years old, about a year younger than Sasuke Uchiha. That would mean Sasuke's 7. Why does this matter? It matters because Naruto would recognize that this means the Uchiha clan downfall is about to occur. Since Naruto has a unique position here with Hiruzen, Naruto would request that he make a little time for him during his next visit. Hiruzen, being a kind man, would indulge the child, knowing that he is the closest thing Naruto has to a father figure. An absent grandfather, but he wishes to try his best and feels he owes Naruto this. When Hiruzen sits, Naruto takes a seat nearby and speaks. "Lord Third, what if I told you that I knew everything that was going to happen?" Hiruzen would smile, indulging the game. "I would probably not believe you." Naruto nods, understanding that skepticism was a key aspect to being a shinobi. "What would it take to prove it to you?" Hiruzen thinks. "Infallible truth, something that can only be explained by you knowing everything." Naruto sat back and began to explain something. "Lord Hiruzen, I was reborn." Hiruzen seemed confused, and Naruto continued. "The spirit of Ashura had the power to reincarnate from generation to generation, but who could have guessed that it would let me reincarnate backwards in time?" Hiruzen was already seeming confused. Naruto remembered that Hiruzen at this point would have no clue what he means, so he skipped this part and went straight to the point. "I've been in the future, and I know what it holds. My spirit was reborn into the past to allow me to change things. Very, very soon from now, a tragedy will befall Konoha, and it will center around the Uchiha clan." Hiruzen's attention seemed to be caught by this. Naruto continued. "There's a rebellion forming within the Uchiha clan. Fugaku's the head of this perceived coup. This is not because he does not love the village, but instead feels as though his clan is being persecuted for something they didn't do. The deaths of my parents and the deaths caused by the Nine-Tails." How do you know this?" Hiruzen asked, skeptical of the information. "I know this because I've already lived through it. Very soon the Uchiha will all be murdered. Every single one of them. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. The perpetrator of this will be Itachi Uchiha." Hiruzen scoffs and smiles. "Itachi? I'll admit he's a strong young man and can be capable of cold actions, but his heart is too pure. He's too kind to commit such an atrocity." Hiruzen said with such confidence, seeming almost relieved that this contradiction proved Naruto to be lying. Naruto shook his head. "He will not feel he has a choice, and because of his actions on that night, the emotional turmoil, it will wreak havoc on his body and lead to an untimely death. His reason for committing this atrocity will be to save his little brother, who will become hostage in every sense but physical. Itachi will be blackmailed into doing this. If he does not do it, his little brother Sasuke will be murdered." Hiruzen's eyes seemed disturbed. Naruto was making a lot of sense, but none of this seemed to make any sense in the grand scheme of things. Was Naruto being controlled and told to tell him this? Who was attempting to manipulate him with Naruto? "I think that's enough, Naruto. Tell me who told you these things." Naruto shook his head. "Nobody told me these things. I already experienced them." Hiruzen would stand. "Enough! What you say is impossible." He began to leave. Naruto then called out to him. "Wait!" Hiruzen looked back. Naruto spoke. "I can see you don't believe me and you're tired of this conversation, but I plead with you to at least listen to this last thing." Hiruzen would wait for Naruto to say his piece. "Danzo Shimura is the head of Root, a secret division of the Anbu. He'll soon steal a Sharingan from Shisui Uchiha, which will lead to the latter's sacrifice, and ultimately rob you of the last chance you have of a peaceful solution. Please, stop him." Hiruzen would nod and walk out the door. Of course, Hiruzen had not believed this in the slightest. However, he did keep it in his mind for quite some time, and upon the death of Shisui Uchiha by suicide, in which he claimed to have destroyed his Sharingan to keep it out of the wrong hands, Naruto's words echoed in his mind. Hiruzen would have the Anbu gathered to him where he would confront Danzo. In doing so, he would demand Danzo remove the wrapping around his head, revealing a recently implanted Sharingan, one that contained the jutsu Koro Amatsukami. What Naruto had said was correct. Hiruzen would have Danzo arrested and would have him stripped of his authority. He would then claim the Sharingan from Danzo and would proceed to follow through with Shisui and Itachi's secret plan and would pacify the Uchiha. After this, Hiruzen would offer to remove the Sharingan he had planted into his own head and offer it back to Itachi, claiming that it truly was a power that no single man should have. But Itachi denied this. He said that he believed Hiruzen to be the only man on Earth besides Shisui who was truly worthy of possessing the power of Koro Amatsukami. And so Hiruzen would keep the Sharingan as a sign of his bond with the Uchiha. But due to this, Hiruzen would realize that everything Naruto said was true. He would call Naruto back in and ask more questions, inquiring about the future. Naruto, however, kept a mostly tight lip about it. He would explain to Hiruzen something important. "We're dealing with a butterfly effect," he would say. "Fate is like a river and tends to follow its original course, even if slight deviations are made. Too many deviations at the wrong time can lead to a different course entirely, and if this occurs, not only will my ability to know the future become useless, but it will also result in a negative outcome." Hiruzen nodded in agreement. Naruto leaned forward. "There are some things that need to happen to keep things on course. I have to follow a predetermined path and work judiciously with this power if I wish to preserve peace. In that way, you're going to need to let me work my way. If you wish to help, however, I could use it. Anytime I need something and tell you it's sensitive pertaining to the future, I'll need you to trust me, okay?" Hiruzen would let off a smile, his right eye still wrapped up, containing the Sharingan. "All right, that sounds like a deal." From here, Naruto's life continues down its course. He continues to go to school where he witnesses Sasuke. However, unlike the path Naruto had originally taken, Sasuke was now a far happier child, no darkness festering in his heart. To a point, Naruto wondered what could happen by not allowing Sasuke to experience life the way he had. He worried that somehow this might lead to Sasuke not being fully prepared for the future, or perhaps worse, might lead to Sasuke falling to darkness and not being able to return. But all things considered, Naruto had saved the lives of many Uchiha who, due to the power of Koro Amatsukami, were now fiercely loyal to their village and Hokage. Danzo having been arrested and the truth explained to Hiruzen in a sensitive way, the Uchiha would also be forgiven by the village and allowed to settle back in their original compound. This repaired the damage done to the Leaf's relationship with the Uchiha, and caused the bonds to grow stronger as Hiruzen vowed not to use the Koro Amatsukami again unless absolutely necessary. This made things much happier for the village, and made Naruto believe that Konoha was in safer hands than it had been previously. But still, there were some important personal things Naruto needed to do that weren't on the scale of the village. Things he needed to do for himself to keep on the proper current of time. On one winter day, Naruto decided to take a detour to the school. As he did, he witnessed a little girl being bullied because of the look of her eyes. This girl was Hinata Hyuga, and she was the bearer of the esteemed dojutsu, the Byakugan. They picked on her, laughed at her, and knocked her down, but here comes Naruto. Naruto had to be careful here and act judiciously. He currently possessed enough power and chakra to shatter the entire world, but that would be overkill. He needed to channel only enough power to drive off this group of bullies who were hurting Hinata. In doing so, he needed to focus on not letting his emotions get the better of him. And so he stepped forward to challenge the bullies, displaying enough strength to scare them off without getting hurt. After this, he would turn back and walk to Hinata. As she sat on the ground, she cried. Naruto saw her tears and his heart shattered. He knelt down next to her and removed his gloves. He wiped the tears from her face. "We wouldn't want your tears to freeze to your face now, would we?" She looked up at Naruto, sniffling. Do you think my eyes are ugly?" Naruto smiled and shook his head. "No, I think they're the most beautiful eyes in the world." Hinata's eyes widened as her cheeks began to grow pink. Naruto had to be careful here. He was so madly in love with her that he wanted to compliment her all day long, but he also didn't want to mess up history and overwhelm her. Hinata was a shy and timid person, and if he came on too strongly, he knew for a fact that she would probably pull away. He needed to make her feel comfortable, and so, after helping her to school, he gave her the space she needed. All the same, he couldn't stop watching her. So many times in class, Irika would call him out for staring and daydreaming out the window. Naruto continued to study, though he already knew half the stuff they were trying to teach him. In fact, he actually knew 100% of the stuff they were trying to teach him. And considering that he came from a later time, he actually realized that a portion of what they were teaching in the classes was a bit inaccurate. All the same, despite this, Naruto feigned ignorance, and he pretended to be incapable of doing anything just so they would hold him back for a while. There were things that he needed to do to ensure that everything remained on track. And so, after failing the final exams again, Naruto would be approached by Mizuki. Dirty traitor, Naruto thought to himself as he watched. All the same, he knew that to catch Mizuki, he needed to allow Mizuki to incriminate himself, and to do that, Naruto would follow the same line of dialogue as before, acting disappointed in himself and going so far as to put himself down. This would lead to Mizuki proposing that Naruto steal the Scroll of Seals. Naruto would think that it's a wonderful idea, or so he would act. At night, he would sneak into the Hokage's residence, but instead of simply stealing the scroll, he would go straight to Hiruzen and inform him. He would tell Hiruzen that a Chunin named Mizuki had requisitioned him to steal the Scroll of Seals, and that he would try and take it from Naruto to deliver to Orochimaru. Hiruzen asks Naruto what they should do, and Naruto says that he should allow him to take the scroll and should give him some more time before sending the Anbu after him. He tells Hiruzen exactly where he'll lead Mizuki, but says it's important that they wait a little bit, because someone will have some growth that they will need to have for the future. Hiruzen trusts Naruto. After having saved the Uchiha clan, Hiruzen cannot help but trust Naruto. And so Naruto takes the scroll and heads out to the location that he had originally gone to. To keep from seeming sus, Naruto would indeed open the scroll and begin to read it. All things considered, Naruto had read this thing quite a few times during his time as Hokage, so he already knew what was in here. In fact, Naruto had personally added Rasen Shuriken to the scroll during his time. It was strange to see that part of the scroll blank. Part of him wanted to fill the spot here and now, but he knew that it wasn't time for that. Not yet. That was when Mizuki showed up, and just as before, he asked that Naruto give him the scroll, and just as before, Naruto does not. Iruka would show up to defend Naruto, and it's here that through tears, Iruka confesses to Naruto why he was so angry with him, why everyone was so angry with him, and acknowledges that he cannot stay hateful, that he doesn't hate Naruto. You see, Naruto had been through this before, and the greatest fear Naruto had was that his emotional response would be caught lacking due to him already having experienced it once, and is expecting to experience it again. But to Naruto's surprise, tears began to form in his eyes, a feeling from long ago. Something that he thought he had completely gotten over, but no, that feeling in his heart remained and he couldn't help but cry. To recall the strength and love of Iruka, his forgiveness despite his pain. Naruto recalled that it was Iruka who had planted the seeds in his heart. It had been Iruka who had first bucked up against the endless cycle of hatred, and from Iruka, Naruto had learned to do so as well. Coming back to one's roots, it was only here with the benefit of hindsight that one could truly appreciate every hardship and every moment that had crafted him into who he would become. At a certain point, Naruto felt dirty. He felt he was committing some atrocious sin by allowing himself to come back to this point and alter things. He himself, from his moment of birth to his time as Hokage, had known pain, and it was through that pain that he had become who he was. Perhaps he was saving lives, saving the Uchiha, saving Itachi, giving both he and Sasuke the lives they deserved to have, but at the same time, Naruto was removing the pain. He was removing the teachers who brought lessons to their lives. He worried that it not only would affect the future, but that it would nullify much of the growth that Sasuke had gone through, as well as disrespecting the sacrifices that Itachi had to make to get them to this point. Naruto got up and ran. It was then that the Anbu would eventually detain Mizuki and reclaim the Scroll of Seals. Iruka would survive indeed, but the air between he and Naruto had changed, and Naruto couldn't help but see the mentor he had always loved in Iruka fresh and new. After this moment, Naruto knew it was okay to continue down this path. The moment he was able to take the test again, Naruto would ace it with flying colors. It would be then that Naruto would visit Hiruzen and make a special request. For reasons that he had yet to explain, he needed Hiruzen to make a specific team for him. He needed Hiruzen to make his teammates Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, and he needed their Jonin to be Kakashi Hatake. Knowing better than to doubt Naruto at this point, Hiruzen would grant him this wish. He would allow Naruto to join Team 7. On the day they would meet, Naruto would sit there patient and expecting. He'd forgotten that he originally started off this meeting by playing a prank on Kakashi. Despite that, he did not play a prank this time. He didn't feel it was important. He wished to see Kakashi's reaction without it. As Kakashi entered the room, he would introduce himself to them. From there, they would take their time to introduce themselves to their new Jonin and explain what it is they wanted out of life. As for Kakashi, he told them precious little. Naruto had always wondered why it was that he had done this. Why was it he had wanted to remain secretive? No, that couldn't be, could it? He had always taught them that teamwork was the most important thing, so for him to simply withhold information from them was either a test to show them that they should have unwavering faith in whoever they were teamed up with, regardless of how well they knew each other, or it was something else. That being said, he had forced them to reveal their own likes, dislikes, and dreams, so it was Naruto's opinion that the reason why Kakashi hid these things were for deeply personal reasons. He knew that Kakashi's hobbies included reading hentai, so that was likely one reason why he didn't want to share it with them. As for his likes and dislikes, he said that he did not feel like telling them about it. So if it wasn't because of secrecy, then for what reason would he not tell them? Perhaps it was because he had very few likes and his dislikes consisted of regrets from his past? Only Kakashi himself knew for sure, but to a point, Naruto was surprised, because Kakashi said he had never truly thought about his dreams. Looking at this with the benefit of the future's foresight, Naruto realized how truly lost Kakashi was. He was at this moment only 26 years old and had his whole life ahead of him. He was younger than Naruto had been when he became Hokage. At this moment, despite being physically younger than Kakashi, he was still Kakashi's mental senior by 6 years. That was, unless they were going to count the extra years of his relived childhood, in which Naruto had further grown more mature, making him an extra 12 years, making him Kakashi's senior by 18. This made Naruto really want to give advice to Kakashi, but he knew the team would function better if he kept the truth about his foresight a secret. So Naruto simply allowed his team to go first, something that Naruto himself reflected on. In the past, his first time doing this, Naruto had been so eager to tell everything about himself that he had immediately gone when he had the chance. But now he was silent, desiring to hear his team's dreams first. Something that, even if he hadn't really noticed it, or was too humble to admit, displayed just how much Naruto had grown since then. For the most part, Sakura's introduction to Team 7 remained the same, and why wouldn't it? Naruto had hoped it would. Her love for Sasuke had been Sasuke's guiding light during his time when he was lost to himself, when his hatred had robbed him of identity and left him wondering who he truly was. So to hear that these sentiments did not change was something that really made Naruto smile. As for Sasuke, however, he had changed and was currently beaming a bright smile. The same kind of smile that Naruto had flashed during his time here. Sasuke's introduction was completely refabricated from the ground up. His likes were spending time with his family and training with his brother. His dislikes were bullies who picked on his friends, and his dreams were to become the head of the Konoha police force. That was something that made Naruto smile. Kakashi would turn to Naruto and ask him about himself. Naruto wanted to be honest with this, but as he thought about it, his hopes and aspirations had shifted quite a bit since he had been at this point. He introduced himself by his full name and told his comrades the things he loved. A nice warm bowl of ramen on a cold winter day, the sunrise, witnessing a sudden sundog in the sky, taking it as a god wink in his life to tell him that things were okay. His dislikes generally revolved around him failing to meet the standards that he had set for himself and that others had set for him, which resulted in himself and everyone else being let down. And finally, he spoke of his dreams. To be Hokage was the same cliché dream he'd always had, and so it remained. But further still, his dream had evolved a bit. He wished to be a husband to Hinata and father to Boruto and Himawari. So in the end, his dream had evolved. He wished to be a man of honor and respect, someone who he could say he was proud to be when he was on his deathbed. To leave behind a life without regrets, and to leave behind a world that was slightly better than it was before he was born. Naruto smiled and then looked around to see that the entire team was staring at him in awe. Kakashi because of how mature the dream was, Sasuke because of how simple yet important it was, and Sakura because of how beautiful it was, something she did not neglect to tell him. Kakashi felt optimistic about his new team, but he still needed to see if they could grasp the most important lesson of all in regards to being in a team, which was teamwork. To that end, he initiated the bell test. The rules were simple. Take the bells before lunchtime. No holds barred. As the test began, Naruto was sure to explain to his team the meaning of the test and its importance. He told them that they needed to work together because no one team member could defeat Kakashi alone. This was a lie. Naruto had all the power required to absolutely body Kakashi and take the bells, but that wasn't the point of this exercise. He told them that the point was that the ability to get the bells required their team to work together. And the fact that there were only 2 bells meant only 2 people could pass. This was to teach them sacrifice and selfishness. The concepts were strong and hard to learn, especially considering that the ones who failed to get the bells would be sent back to the academy without a Jonin. Such a horrible fate. Of course, Naruto knew that nobody on their team was actually in danger of that so long as they displayed that they had learned the lesson Kakashi was trying to teach them. But Naruto needed to let them believe that there was still danger, as it was that pressure that not only taught, but showed who a person was deep down. And so Naruto held back a little and left plenty of openings for Kakashi. Not all the openings though. Naruto would never suffer 1,000 years of death again. He was sure not to succeed early as Kakashi still needed to teach them the lesson. Naruto fumbled as much as he could so that Kakashi would name him as the worst of his students and thus forbid him from eating lunch. Naruto sat tied to the stake. He was content knowing that things were playing out just as they should, not just for the sake of the future, but for the sake of his friends right here and now. And just as he had believed, they would start offering him food behind Kakashi's back. This was heartfelt and touching, but also made him proud of them for choosing team over self. They knew that they could get in big trouble if they didn't do as Kakashi had commanded them. Despite this, they still did do so without the thought of themselves. This made Naruto smile. Immediately after they started feeding Naruto, Kakashi rushed out to punish them, but instead of saying anything angry at them or telling them that they had done wrong disobeying them, he instead commended them for choosing team over orders, telling them that this was the essence of teamwork, self-sacrifice. As Naruto thought on this, Naruto couldn't help but think back on the things he knew of Kakashi, and the meaning behind why this test was so important to him. At the end of the day, Naruto found himself standing before the monument to Konoha's heroes. There he found the name Obito Uchiha. He ran his finger across it and knew this name to be connected to so much pain. Pain in Kakashi's past, pain in Naruto's past, and pain in the world's future. Despite everything, he needed to let things run their course. In doing so, he could possibly save the world without having to permanently lose any lives. After all, Obito, even if he did do bad, led to things that would one day become good. All he needed to do was limit the damage he did as much as possible. As Naruto looked at the statue, Kakashi walked up to him. "Do you recognize any of the names on that statue?" Naruto looked back out of the corner of his eye. "A few, Kakashi-sensei. These were true heroes to Konoha, weren't they?" Kakashi nodded. "These are they who sacrificed everything for their village, for their friends. It's no coincidence that I brought you here to perform this test. I had hoped that by bringing you here, the spirits of true heroes might bless you and give you the knowledge and understanding to learn this important lesson. Not everything is free, and sometimes you must pay a price that nobody else can pay. Sometimes the cost is your life, or in my case, the life of a friend. There is such thing as survivor's guilt. Sometimes you have to lose a friend, and you look back and ask why it couldn't have been you instead. But in the end, we all carry our burdens and must be willing to do whatever is necessary to defend the village from harm." Naruto nodded. "The will of fire." Kakashi seemed surprised that Naruto understood the meaning of the will of fire, but he didn't press. He simply likened it to Naruto being incredibly mature and wise for his age. He would put his hand around Naruto's shoulder. "Come on, why don't we go out to eat? You, me, Sakura, and Sasuke, to celebrate the formation of our team." Naruto smiled. "That sounds good." Naruto stood there on the bank of the little river that ran through the center of the village hidden in the leaves. Honestly, in the past, he had always hated doing this kind of work, and frankly, it hadn't been much different in the future. But this time, Naruto was not as upset as he once was, but instead grateful. After all, he had lived through one of the most dangerous times in the world, faced many threats, and oftentimes held within his heart the belief that he would die. And when it wasn't that, it was mind-numbing paperwork. Approval and disapproval of projects, requisitions for funds, and divvying up missions that came to the many teams across Konoha, having to read the description and decide which teams were optimal based on statistics and all manner of other things Naruto was half too lazy to fully learn. At this point, with everything he had gone through and was doing, this was like paradise. So simple, so safe. He was content to walk the dogs, to pick up the trash, but all the same, once more, the future demanded action, and so when he had free time, he made it to the Hokage's office. For Hiruzen, every time Naruto scheduled a meeting like this, it became stressful to him. He knew that it undoubtedly meant that something was coming, something big that either needed to change or needed to stay the same, an action he and Naruto had come to call a nexus point. A point in time where everything connected for the greater good. Despite this, Hiruzen was grateful, as it meant that they were not going to be flying blind. Naruto would help ensure that things occurred without the loss of innocent life. He would help keep them safe. Naruto sat down in a chair before the desk of the Hokage. He mused within himself that this desk had at one time been his and would eventually become his once again. Hiruzen kept a nervous smile on his lips the whole time, a conjunction of cheerful expectations and fearful assumptions. "What can I do for you today, Naruto?" Naruto could hear the fear in the elderly man's voice. "I'm doing well, Mr. Hiruzen, and you are as well. Trust me. All I came in to say is that there's an important point coming up that I would consider a nexus, and it involves character building with my team. I wouldn't consider this in any way a danger to Konoha or you, but it's important that my team goes on it for character growth, in hopes of preparing my team for the future battles we may face." Hiruzen almost seemed to release the pressure of fear in his heart with a slow sigh that caused his shoulders to relax, giving the illusion that the man had slightly deflated into comfort. "That's fine. What mission is it, Naruto?" Naruto then began to explain. "Either it's already happened or it'll soon make it to your desk that a certain bridge builder named Tazuna has requested a Genin team to escort him back to the Land of Waves, where he'll continue working on a bridge linking them to the mainland. Team 7 needs to be assigned this mission." Hiruzen nodded. "I'll assign this mission to your team shortly." Hiruzen then leaned forward as to ask a new question. "Does your team know that you possess the ability to witness the future?" Naruto shook his head. Hiruzen raised a brow. "Not even Kakashi Hatake." Naruto shook his head once again. I would prefer it to remain that way as well. This knowledge is being held back on a need-to-know basis. I don't want people's perception of me to change the way they act, and in turn, the way the future will unfold. If there ever comes a time when Kakashi or my team needs to know about my abilities, I'll let them know. But until then, I plan to hold this info back. Hiruzen nodded. That sounds fair. Is there anything else you'd like to speak about? Naruto looked around. I could talk with you for hours, but I'm sure you're very busy. Naruto stood to leave. Hiruzen watched him make his way to the door, and despite the fact that Naruto possessed over 30 years worth of experience and what most would consider to be an adult mind, his body was still that of a child, and he lived alone in a village that hated him. Hiruzen called out, Naruto, tell me, how are you? Naruto looked back. What do you mean? Hiruzen rephrased the question. How are you doing right now? Naruto thought about it. I feel endowed with a glorious purpose, a chance to do the world good and set it on a good path toward a proper future. Hiruzen smiled. Sit back down. Naruto would do so. Hiruzen would then speak. I know you feel endowed with purpose, and I know you like to keep busy, but do you ever take time to relax? Naruto thought about it. He shook his head. No, sir, I don't generally have the time to, and even if I did, I wouldn't like it. Why is that? Hiruzen asked. Naruto thought about it. It just is. Hiruzen then decided to take a stab at it. Does it make you reflect upon the emptiness of your home? This seemed to strike Naruto. He felt a jolt of emotion fire out of his solar plexus that caused a sudden urge to cry before being quelled. I had a wife and kids in my life. Hiruzen nodded and continued to listen. Naruto thought about it. The chances of me having those 2 children were astronomical. Each one was 1 in a million, if you understand what I mean. Hiruzen nodded. Naruto looked down. I was used to spending all my time and my days with them. When I wasn't at work, I was at home hearing them argue and play. I don't know if I'll ever see them again. Not the same kids, of course. Kids like them that might even look like them, but I don't know if that can ever be them exactly again. Hiruzen let off a smile. Despite Naruto's age, he was a worried father, fearing for the safety of his little ones that had yet to be born. Don't worry, Naruto. You told me when you first revealed this to me that fate flowed like a river, that it favored its original course unless it was specifically altered in a big way. I'm certain that if you continue down your course, you will reach the same outcome as you did during that time. Naruto let off a smile. Thanks, Mr. Hiruzen. I really needed that. As the days passed on, Naruto and Team 7 would eventually return to the Hokage for their next mission. This mission would be given to them just as Naruto had requested. They would meet with Tazuna and begin the escort mission. All the while, Naruto knew Tazuna had lied and that this was much more than a mission to protect against bandits. But assassins too. They wouldn't be in any true danger. This Naruto knew, especially not with him and Kakashi around. But all the same, it was important to him to let the natural course of things take place, which meant he could not interfere here. He had a role to play, and like the actor he always thought he was but never truly had been, he put on his mask of ignorance and slowly guided the situation to where it needed to be. As the Demon Brothers came out, Naruto had expected it and was totally ready for it, but he froze up purposefully to make Sasuke protect him and give him the character building he needed, all while making it look as if Naruto himself were building character. It was a bit sad to know that he was lying to them, making it look like he was weak when he wasn't, but there was a need for secrecy as too many people knowing what would happen could spoil the situation, which is why he kept even Hiruzen mostly in the dark except for when it was necessary. Their genuine reactions were as important as Naruto's alteration of them, and so, just like in the times he once experienced, he froze. And after that, he carved into his hand a vow to never freeze again, just as he had in the past. Honestly, it was a trying task stabbing into his hand like that, and so he didn't do it as hard as before. He just merely needed to get the point across, so he settled by just drawing blood by cutting the palm of his hand instead. With that done, he would have it wrapped up, and he'd have Kurama release a burst of chakra to heal it rather quickly. With that done, they moved on until Zabuza stopped before them. Just like before, Naruto elected to step back and allow Kakashi to have his fight with Zabuza. This, of course, resulted in Kakashi being trapped in a water prison. Naruto was actually slightly relieved by this. It meant things were still on course, and so he and Sasuke would brainstorm a new strategy, one which would end up being the Demon Wind Shuriken feint. After throwing the shuriken that Naruto had transformed into, Naruto would throw a kunai back at Zabuza, which resulted in Zabuza needing to let go of the water prison. It was then that Haku would appear and seemingly kill Zabuza, though Naruto knew better. Kakashi was weakened though, and so they decided to rest at Tazuna's home, which gave Kakashi time to rest. While he rested, he had his team work on running up trees and sticking to the surface of objects with the soles of their feet. Naruto was a natural at this by now, but he wanted to feign the lack of ability to do so, because he didn't want to leave Sasuke in the dust. Sasuke, on the other hand, actually managed to pick this up rather quickly, far more quickly than he had before. Naruto surmised that this was due to Itachi not killing the Uchiha clan. This would mean that Itachi either eventually did train Sasuke, or perhaps that Sasuke simply wasn't aggressive enough at this time to result in him using too much chakra too forcefully. So this training went by far faster. Naruto would then return to the home for supper. There he was confronted by Inari. Naruto remembered his first meeting with Inari. Oh, how this brought back sweet memories. Memories he could now make all over again. Originally, he had been so angry at Inari for daring to insult the name of shinobi everywhere, but right now he couldn't help but let off a longing smile, a desire to rush the boy and hug him tightly. This was not an expression Inari didn't notice, calling Naruto a creep and a weirdo. But of course, Naruto realized how important it was to help Inari right now. Inari was to help the Land of Waves with his determination. But frankly, Naruto wanted to help the boy feel better. If Inari did nothing in the future but smile, this would be a moment worth doing. He would talk with Inari and try to help him come to terms with the death of his father, Kaiza. Inari shed many tears that night, and even Naruto, who had been through this before, shed tears. Tears at the bravery of a single man, and tears at the hole ripped open in the heart of one so innocent and pure. It filled Naruto full of righteous indignation towards Gato, and in his heart, though he had planned to do so all along, he vowed that Gato would pay for what he had done. And so, the time came when they would protect the bridge. Now, Naruto was generally very punctual, but this time he feigned being sick to get them to go on without him for a while. This was at first merely so they could just let him remain here, because he knew that Gato had sent men to capture Inari and Tsunami, and Naruto knew that it was important for Inari and Tsunami to remain free, as then Inari could spread his courage and help the Land of Waves fight back. This was a very important lesson for them to learn. It would take more than Naruto and his team simply defeating Gato to save them. They would need to learn to stand up for themselves, as the moment Team 7 would leave, a vacuum would open, and another crime lord worse than Gato might fill it. And so he stayed in bed until a certain hour where he proceeded to get up. He would then step outside and wait for Gato's henchmen, where he would proceed to protect Inari and Tsunami. He would then request that Inari go and find as many people as he could and go to the bridge to finally show Gato that they won't be held back by him anymore. After this, Naruto would rush off. Upon reaching the bridge, Sakura would ask him why he's not still resting in bed, and Naruto would fib, telling her that it was just something he ate and that he barfed earlier, got a good breakfast, and was now back in tip-top shape. This was enough to keep away any suspicions. And so, Naruto waited with cautious optimism until, as he predicted, Haku and Zabuza would show up. Now, it was at this point that Naruto made the decision not to let Haku hurt Sasuke, as he didn't wish to take the risk that something could go wrong and end up killing him. Naruto knew it would be character development if he allowed Sasuke to end up hurt, but he didn't. So he elected to protect Sasuke instead. As Haku's demonic mirroring ice crystals went up, Naruto released a lot of chakra with his Ninetales version 1 chakra cloak. Just enough to melt the barriers, but not enough to betray the extent of his power to anyone and make them suspicious. It was a judicial use of his power. After all, he still wanted things to go mostly to script. The only thing he wished to do was somehow save Zabuza and Haku. Both, despite their position, had the opportunity to do good and be kinder, better people. Haku was already as pure as the snow that made up his clan name. He was devoted to Zabuza and would do as Zabuza wished. The issue here was in saving Zabuza. Could he save the man? In his final moments, Zabuza had been brought back to good through the power of love, Haku's love. So Naruto assumed that the only thing that could do this again would be Haku. So Naruto straddled Haku and deemed this a need-to-know case. He began to reveal to him everything that Haku had never told anybody, and began telling him of the future, telling Haku that he was the only person who could save Zabuza. Haku would be surprised at this information that Naruto seemed to have on him and would oblige the demand to help save Zabuza. But time was running out. Haku saw Kakashi preparing a Chidori and rushed to stand in the way. Naruto saw this and cursed. In a moment, his eyes turned into a mixture of frog and fox pupils, signaling that he had just entered Six-Path Sage Mode. With that extra strength, he sped forward and grabbed Kakashi's hand before he could stab through Haku. Kakashi stood there stunned, and then looked to Naruto and noticed his irises. "Naruto, how did you..." Zabuza would try to capitalize on this, but the moment he swung his blade, Naruto lifted his hand and caught it, letting off enough chakra to shatter it to pieces. This left Zabuza slightly defenseless, but instead of attacking, Haku turned around and pleaded with Zabuza, tears in his eyes, begging him to stop. He told Zabuza that he understood if he was just a tool, but that Zabuza needed to realize how valuable to this tool he was. Haku loved Zabuza and saw him like the father he always wanted. He begged him not to leave. The two talked. They argued a bit, and emotions began to run deeper. Eventually, Haku convinced Zabuza to stand down, and the two reached peace with Team 7. Gato's men would appear and threaten to finish what Zabuza and Haku could not, but were surprised when Haku, Zabuza, and the entirety of the Land of Waves stood against him, and he was driven out. Because of this, the bridge was named the Great Naruto Bridge. With their newfound courage, and with the help of Zabuza and Haku, who both had decided to remain in the village to protect it, Naruto was convinced that the mission would turn out better. As they returned to their village, however, one night while they were camping, Kakashi took Naruto to the side and asked him about what happened. He told Naruto that what he had witnessed he knew was a form of Sage Mode, and that Naruto was hiding more power than he was letting on, and he wished to understand the meaning of this. Naruto finally relented and began to explain to Kakashi the truth, telling him about being reborn and how he had memories and powers from the future. Kakashi at first did not believe this, but he told Kakashi that as soon as they got back to the village, they could go to Hiruzen's office and validate if this were true. And upon returning to the village, they did indeed validate it with Hiruzen, that Naruto did possess these future memories. Hiruzen explained that it was Naruto who had led to the Uchiha being spared, and how everything he had said would occur had occurred in just the way he said it would. Kakashi asked why it was that Naruto had hidden such an important thing from them, and he simply said it was because he didn't want to throw off too much by altering the course of history. He merely wanted to change some very important aspects to make an even better outcome. To that end, Naruto mentioned to Hiruzen that he and Team 7 needed to be in the Chunin exams coming up, because it was at this time that something very big was supposed to happen in the village that could change everything, and Naruto needed to scout out how much would be the same and how much could change. And so, with Kakashi's blessing, Hiruzen approved of it. The team would go and sign up for the Chunin exams, and eventually the time came that the exams would begin. Naruto breezed through the first test for the simple fact that he had experienced it before. Being Hokage, he was now capable of answering some of the questions. Not all of them though, which made Naruto feel a little bad. As Hokage, he should know most of this stuff, but realized just how often he relied upon his gut for this. But in the end, the only thing that mattered was that he said yes to the final question. This ensured that he and his team passed easy peasy. Moving on further, they would begin in the Forest of Death. Here they would search out another team. Naruto recognized that Gaara and his siblings were here. He wondered where Rasa was, if he was even still alive. Upon coming into contact with Shiore, who revealed herself to be Orochimaru in disguise, Naruto realized that the same course of actions might have been taking place. Naruto managed to stop Sasuke from receiving the Cursed Seal of Heaven, and together they drove off Orochimaru before finding their final scroll and making it out. All the while, Naruto was a bit perplexed by Orochimaru's presence. He assumed that Orochimaru would not come for Sasuke since there were so many Uchiha out there that he could take from, but for some reason he was still after Sasuke and was still here to cause mayhem. So after the Forest of Death and the first round of the exhibition matches, Naruto reported back to Hiruzen. He would tell Hiruzen that Orochimaru was indeed here and that this meant that there would soon be a terrorist attack on the Leaf, utilizing Gaara of the Hidden Sand, and that Orochimaru would likely come for Hiruzen in an attempt to kill his master. This disturbed Hiruzen, who would consider having Gaara arrested. Naruto would tell him not to, however, as it was important that Gaara be given the chance, as what happened here would be a massive world-altering event which would eventually play out for the better, and that what was important was setting up defenses to deal with Manda, as well as anything else Orochimaru sent at them in an attempt to save as many civilian lives as possible. Naruto then mentioned to Hiruzen that in the end he would need to fight Orochimaru. Hiruzen asked how that turned out in the future. Naruto told him that originally Orochimaru had just barely survived and that Hiruzen had perished, but he believed that with the Sharingan, Hiruzen now stood a chance against Orochimaru and could likely come out on top. Hiruzen nodded. Naruto finally mentioned that Jiraiya was in the village and that Naruto needed to go recruit him and hopefully train with him. Hiruzen asked him why he would need to do that if he already possessed all of his powers and memories from the future, and Naruto simply stated that this was both for the village, but primarily for himself. When asked why, Naruto simply said, "It's important to me that the bond I once had with my master return. If I didn't try to cultivate that again with him, I'd regret it forever. It's very important to me." And so he let Naruto have this. Naruto would leave and find Jiraiya outside of the women's bathhouse as he had originally, something that would bring a smile to his face. He would sneak up on Jiraiya and startle him. At first, Jiraiya didn't seem as interested to take him on as an apprentice, but upon revealing himself as the son of Minato, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and showing him his sexy jutsu, a jutsu he hadn't used in years, he would begin to be taught as Jiraiya's apprentice. Jiraiya would go about teaching him the same way he had previously. Naruto knew all this stuff already, but he pretended not to be very good at it so as to be able to spend more time with Jiraiya. To be frank, this moment was one of the most stressful he ever faced. He knew that if he screwed up, Jiraiya would be gone from his life forever. He had been given a second chance and he didn't wish to mess it up. And so for weeks he struggled to learn something he already knew, training tirelessly, or what used to be tirelessly, just to make it look like Jiraiya was truly strengthening him. But all the same, Jiraiya seemed suspicious when his training didn't even leave Naruto out of breath, let alone sweaty. But still, the two continued to train. Eventually, when the final rounds came, Naruto was faced up against Neji, and the two did battle. Naruto could easily smoke Neji at this point, but he simply chose to make it look like a closer battle for Neji's sake. In the end, he beat him, just as Sasuke in the end was to beat Gaara before he chose to run away. Kabuto attempted to cast them all under Genjutsu, but failed to catch Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto, who would go chase Gaara. All the while, Hiruzen began his battle against Orochimaru. This battle led them to the roof where a barrier was put up. Hiruzen would activate his Sharingan and prepare for battle, but to his surprise, Orochimaru did as well. Orochimaru possessed a set of Sharingan, and then he proceeded to shift them into Mangekyo Sharingan, going so far as to even acquire a Susanoo. This battle was over fairly quickly. Orochimaru's Susanoo, as well as his Ito Tensei, would overwhelm Hiruzen quickly. Just as before, Hiruzen would attempt to seal away Orochimaru with the Reaper Death Seal. This was again only partially successful, leading to Orochimaru escaping but still having his arms sealed away. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura caught up with Gaara and the two prepared to fight, with Gaara releasing Shukaku and Naruto releasing Kurama. Together, the two did battle, and Naruto managed to wake up Gaara, causing Shukaku to return within his seal. Naruto would then come to Gaara's side as he woke up and attempt to relate to him. He told him the same thing that he had told him before, about how he was abused for being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and that he understood what Gaara was going through, but that Gaara could change and that he didn't need to be ruled by his hatred. He told him to let it go and consider a new future, one where there was peace. He then let Gaara go. He would return to Konoha with Sakura and Sasuke, only to come to the realization that Hiruzen had been killed. The funeral was short. Naruto saw the tears in Konohamaru's eyes, and it caused his own to overrun. How could this happen? Naruto was certain that he had altered enough to protect Hiruzen from Orochimaru, but it was true. Fate was preferring the course that it had originally gone down. What was this? Some punishment from fate? Was he being punished for attempting to alter the natural flow of destiny? He had failed to save Hiruzen. He had wanted to save everyone, but he failed. All that day, Naruto sat at the edge of his bed, looking out the window, reflecting upon his own failures. He'd been given a chance to save everyone and make the world exactly as it should be, but instead, he'd miscalculated, and it resulted in the death of someone Naruto saw as a grandfather. This was a massive blow to Naruto's confidence, but he managed not to lose sight of his mission. He would then link up with Jiraiya, who'd be sent out to recruit Tsunade to be the 5th Hokage. While they left, they'd be hunted by Kisame Hoshigaki. But as Kisame caught up with them, Itachi would appear to protect them, facing Kisame himself and pushing him back. Naruto marveled at this. The flow of fate remained the same, but now the actors had changed. It was no longer Might Guy here to protect Naruto, but Itachi. It's as if Kisame and Itachi's destinies were so intertwined that they could not be undone, even with such differences as they had created. Naruto saw this as more than just a nexus. Destiny had tied these two together. This he called a temporal fact, a fixed point, an anchor of fate. Jiraiya and Naruto would continue on their way towards Tsunade's location. He would continue teaching Naruto the Rasengan, and Naruto would continue to fail it purposefully, because despite having already learned it, he needed to make an effort not to look suspicious. And so, together, the two of them would meet with Tsunade and discover that she was planning to go after Orochimaru. Jiraiya feared that she might be joining him to heal his arms, but Naruto knew better. They would follow her to the meeting place only to see her fighting against both Kabuto and Orochimaru. They'd begin to help her. Naruto knew that at this point, he could body both Orochimaru and Kabuto, and despite how badly Naruto wanted to kill them for killing Hiruzen, he knew that he couldn't. Orochimaru would be useful in the future when he turned a new leaf, no pun intended. So he ensured that the battle followed its destined script, which led to their victory and Orochimaru fleeing the scene. With Tsunade in tow, they would return to Konoha, where she would become the next Hokage. Now, because Itachi had never killed the Uchiha, Sasuke never felt the need to grow stronger via taking drastic measures. All the same, Naruto knew that Sasuke would still need to grow stronger, so he asked Jiraiya if he could bring Sasuke along with them while they trained, and Jiraiya would agree to this. And so the three of them would go off on their way to train. Naruto knew that he would need to probably hold back a little to make things fair, but he was content that things were going according to plan. Lives were being saved, and his bond with Jiraiya was growing yet again. All they had to do now was grow strong enough to face the future. Naruto sat on the porch outside Jiraiya's home, watching his mentor and his best friend train their hardest. As they did so, Naruto felt a hollow feeling in his heart. He was here, training, yet it felt more like he was going through the motions. It felt as if he were wasting Jiraiya's time he had so precious little of. That's why he prioritized Jiraiya's training of Sasuke. Even now, Sasuke was practicing the Rasengan. It was the parent technique of the Chidori. As Naruto thought about it, he realized what Kakashi had been going for. He was attempting to make an electrified version of the Rasen Shuriken, but the issue with that was that Kakashi did not have the control or chakra well to truly complete the technique. Naruto was hoping that Sasuke would be able to complete it, which was why he wished to let Sasuke train as much as he could. But at the same time, he worried that Jiraiya was taking this as disinterest, which ultimately could damage their relationship. The mere pressure on Naruto, the thought that he could fail, weighed heavy upon his heart. He watched Sasuke holding the water balloon, attempting to pop it. Naruto had once been where Sasuke is now. As Sasuke continued with this, Jiraiya believed that Sasuke needed no further instruction until he completed his task. He walked over to Naruto and sat down beside him. "Why aren't you training with us? I can handle 2 students at the same time, you know." Naruto held up his hand. "I'm too ignorant. I couldn't master it at this speed. I don't want to take away from Sasuke's training." Jiraiya sat there and sighed. "You already know how to do it, don't you?" Naruto was shocked. "What? No." Jiraiya looked over at him with eyes full of wisdom and knowledge. "You do. The way you carry yourself is unlike any other child or genin I've ever known. You carry yourself like an old man, controlled, reserved, and purposefully hiding things that others shouldn't know, and I'm trying to figure out what those things are." Naruto sat there for a moment. "With all due respect, Master, but isn't it a shinobi's job to hide things from people?" Jiraiya nodded. "Indeed it is, and it's a shinobi's job to discover the secrets people are hiding," he said as his eyes now displayed a spark of determination glowing deep within. "You know the Rasengan. This much I know. You don't seem to have any issue controlling the Nine Tails either. Your failures at Sage Mode are forced. So much of our training feels like an act, a show. So it begs the question, if you're not here to train, what are the things you've come to do?" Naruto looked back out at Sasuke. "Master, there are things that I can't tell anyone. Very few people can ever know. The lives of millions are at stake. I need to be here. I need to be home with my godfather." Jiraiya sat forward. "Naruto, are you in trouble? I know the Akatsuki are chasing you, but I don't see them as being much of a threat until they get a tailed beast. And even then, that would only put them on the world's radar. And a country with a stronger beast would simply destroy them. So what are you running from?" Naruto stood there. "You don't truly comprehend the reach of the Akatsuki, Master, nor the forces that stand behind them." "But you do," Jiraiya said. "You have quite a bit of information for someone so young. More information on them than even I have, and I have devoted many years to studying and tracking them. How is it that you know more than me?" Naruto took a deep breath. He didn't like where this line of thought was going. Jiraiya was digging in too deep, and Naruto was letting him. Naruto couldn't say no to Jiraiya, but the logical assumptions this man was making based on the little knowledge he had was telling. But what was Naruto to expect? He read the tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi, and in his later years, with Hinata's blessing, he read the Icha Icha novels. While the latter held less plot, he could witness the inner workings of Jiraiya's mind. Jiraiya was a natural novelist, and it seemed he bore the capability to sense the flow of the plot. And considering that fate read out the lives of human beings like books, this gave Jiraiya some context into what was happening and what might happen. And right now, Jiraiya was sensing a plot device. Things that didn't make sense, and the wizened man knew that life was too consistent to contain plot holes. "Naruto, I can't force you to tell me anything, and I don't think you're the kind to do things with a reason. You have Naruto?" Naruto looked over at Jiraiya. Jiraiya sat there looking at him. "Naruto, are you crying?" Naruto was shocked by the question. He raised a hand to his cheek and felt a single bead of water roll down. He was crying. Why? Jiraiya turned to face him, and even to this point, Sasuke's gaze was starting to draw curiously toward them. Jiraiya nodded. He stood and put his hand on Naruto's back and began to lead him inside, faking a laugh to force Sasuke's suspicions away. Once they were inside, Jiraiya sat Naruto down. "Naruto, you need to tell me what's going on. I can help you, but you need to trust me." Naruto sat there as more tears appeared on his emotionless face. "Master, there are things you can't know. There are things only I can bear." Jiraiya shook his head. "Naruto, you assume that's true, but it's not. You need to tell others." Naruto looked down to the tatami flooring. "No, Master. Only I can know this, because only I can avert it.
If I tell others, it takes what little power I have out of my hands and spreads it too thin to do anything, and will merely cascade into a waterfall of missteps that'll result in a worse outcome for everyone.
Jiraiya drew a bit closer.
Not true. I merely wish to support you. You've been different for the past few months. You're different from the boy I met in front of the bathhouse.
Naruto looked down.
Master, something happened and it was my fault. I failed to do something. I was so confident in myself that I didn't think it was possible that I made a miscalculation and someone I loved very much died. I got them killed. Who was it? Jiraiya asked.
Naruto shook his head.
It was Hiruzen, wasn't it?
Jiraiya said. Naruto began to break down as he nodded his head.
I swore to make a better world and I let Lord Third die. I didn't anticipate Orochimaru having Sharingan. Mangekyo no less. Hiruzen didn't stand a chance.
Jiraiya sat forward.
How would you have anticipated Orochimaru having Sharingan? How did you anticipate his attack at all?
Naruto was silent as he continued to cry. Jiraiya then spoke.
You've seen this all before, haven't you? Time travel? Did you return from the future?
Naruto shook his head.
Reverse reincarnation.
Jiraiya nodded.
You were reborn with all of your memories.
Naruto nodded.
And abilities. I didn't come here to train because I needed to grow stronger. Then why did you come here to train? Jiraiya asked.
Naruto's crying sped up as he wiped his tears.
I wanted to train so I could get back my friendship with you. In my last life, you were my best friend. More than a mentor, you were like a father to me. And when you were
Naruto stopped.
When I was killed?
Jiraiya attempted to finish the sentence. Naruto looked up, his eyes shining like glass.
When you were killed, I thought I lost everything. You were the only one I knew that made me feel accepted and loved. Not like Kakashi does. He loves me, but differently. You became my papa, just like how Hiruzen became my grandpa, and I lost you both. Then, upon backwards reincarnation, I got the chance to be with you two again, and I just wanted to fix it so you wouldn't die ever again. But fate keeps reverting back to its original course. Mr. Hiruzen is dead now because of that. Despite my knowledge and everything I've tried, Hiruzen still died. I don't want to lose you again, Master. I don't want to lose you again.
Naruto fell into Jiraiya's embrace. Jiraiya pulled him in and wrapped his whole body around his apprentice to comfort his inconsolable heart.
Naruto, you won't lose me. Not again. Don't be afraid.
Naruto continued to cry. Standing in the doorway was Sasuke, watching on with concern on his face. Jiraiya looked up at him, unaware that he'd been there.
How long have you been standing there, Sasuke? How much did you hear?
A little bit, he said with his mind attempting to process everything. Jiraiya felt Naruto tense up in his arms.
Reverse reincarnation. Is that why you act weird before something big happens? I always thought you were like psychic or like dogs who can sense earthquakes before they happen, but that's not it, is it? You've actually experienced the future.
Naruto let out a quiet yet high-pitched squeal of terror and frustration as his head was hidden.
Now, Sasuke, Naruto has his reasons for these things. You can't blame him. He's trying to protect the world and make it better, which he assumed would be impossible to accurately do if too many people knew about it.
Sasuke nodded.
Yes, but you could have told us. Who all knows?
Naruto sat up and thought about it.
Hiruzen, Kakashi, possibly Tsunade now, Jiraiya, and you.
Sasuke thought about it.
If you knew this stuff was going to happen, why did you let it? Like the attack on Konoha. People died, Naruto. Why didn't you mention it? I did. To Hiruzen. I needed him to not do anything about it, though. There was someone very important who would need the experience so the future could unfold properly. But all I did was get Hiruzen killed. I didn't calculate it right.
Sasuke nodded.
I understand. But now you have us. We can bounce ideas off each other and we can offer insight. I am afraid that if your reactions aren't genuine, it'll affect the future.
Jiraiya scoffed his way into a chuckle.
That's like saying that if your reactions aren't genuine, it'll affect the future, Naruto. Your reactions don't seem to change anything, so why would ours?
Naruto thought about it. Jiraiya continued.
And if we know the stakes, perhaps we can change things for the better, alright? So fill us in about everything. Tell us everything that'll happen. Spoil the whole plot for us and see if we can help you write a better ending.
Naruto and Sasuke trained for quite some time with Jiraiya. Thankfully, nothing big was planned to happen for 2.5 years, so Jiraiya and Sasuke helped Naruto plan, and then told him to just calm down and relax. Since he still had all of his strength from training, he really just focused on maintenance training, all while Sasuke attempted to catch up. He managed to learn the Rasengan and Jiraiya's Toad summoning, even going so far as to learn and master Sage Mode. But as always, these happy days do not last. and the time comes where Naruto realizes that he must return to Konoha and prepare for the next big event. And so he proceeds to return with Sasuke and Jiraiya in tow. Upon returning to the village, Naruto heads straight for the office of the Hokage where Tsunade is waiting. She greets them both. Jiraiya and Sasuke allow Naruto to take the lead here. Naruto walks over and asks if he can have a seat. Tsunade tells him that he may. "Do you know about me?" Tsunade looks at him for a time. "Know about you?" Naruto nods. "Did Hiruzen leave any records of me and what I can do?" Tsunade smiles. He did. And these facts were corroborated by Kakashi. One of the last things Hiruzen left was a letter for any prospective new Hokage. He said that there was a chance that he'd be killed during the Chunin exams by Orochimaru as per the prediction of Naruto Uzumaki. He said that he hoped the letter would never see the light of day, but that it was important that he do something to help Naruto convince the next Hokage of his abilities should the worst come to pass. Kakashi confirmed and explained the bits that I didn't understand from Hiruzen to me. Naruto nodded. "Then you understand what my mission is here in the village. I'm here to inform you that either right now or at some point in the very near future, Gaara will be kidnapped by the Akatsuki. 2 members named Deidara and Sasori. They'll attempt to steal the tailed beast from the Kazekage. You will have planned to send Team Kakashi along with Team Guy to save him, but will be too late, and he'll need to be revived via a technique from Chiyo, and that'll result in the demise of Chiyo and the revival of Gaara. I wish to get a step up on this and attempt to save him now." Tsunade nodded and sat back. Indeed. Rumors have been flying, but we've yet to receive a formal request. Sending you now to fulfill an unsanctioned mission in the Land of Wind will cause distrust between the Sand and Leaf. Naruto understood this point of view. After all, he too was Hokage at some point, but he knew it was important to act now, and that if he didn't, Chiyo's death would be set in stone. Gaara's the leader of the Sand, and if we play it off as us attempting to help, it actually might draw us closer. Tsunade thought about it. "I know what you're attempting, Naruto, but you're playing a dangerous game. You're risking a lot for one person. I know that's callous of me to say, but if saving one life, a very old life at that, one that died with meaning in your timeline, brings possible death to millions, do you really think that this is a good idea?" Naruto thought about it. "I understand your point." He looked around. "But it would also put one less tailed beast into the Akatsuki's hands. It would slow down their Eye of the Moon plan considerably." Tsunade looked up. Eye of the Moon plan? It was at this moment he knew he screwed up. Did I didn't say that. Tsunade sighed. "Did he tell you about this stuff, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya laughed a little bit. "Yeah, he's told me everything, Tsunade. Hiruzen trusted his judgment, and so do I." "Hiruzen's dead, Jiraiya." Naruto looked down, obviously still sore about that. Jiraiya waved his hand down at her to calm her. "Yes, but Naruto was acting alone that time. This time he has me and Sasuke to bounce ideas off of." Tsunade shook her head. "So he's getting advice from a horny man-child and an edgy stereotype. That makes me feel tons better." "Just trust us here, Su," Jiraiya insisted. Tsunade then took a deep breath and let it out with a sigh. "Fine. If this is the way you wish to play it, then go for it. But if the world ends, I'm holding you both personally responsible for it." She took out a pen and paper and began to write up her approval for the mission. "This mission is off the records until such a time as we are requested." Naruto nodded as he took the paper. He stood and prepared to leave, but stopped. "Also, don't send Jiraiya to Amagakure to spy it out. I'm gonna tell you now, that's where the Akatsuki are hiding their main base. We'll come up with a plan when I get back." Naruto left, leaving Tsunade dumbfounded. The trio then left the office where they met with Kakashi and Sakura. At this time, Naruto met with Kakashi secretly and told him that Jiraiya and Sasuke knew everything. Kakashi then nodded and looked to Sakura. "Should we inform her of what's going on? It would seem a bit unfair to leave her in the dark, considering she's probably smarter than all of us." Naruto nodded in agreement. "It would be a good idea, yes." And so they caught Sakura up to speed about this. She was shocked, but she seemed to take it well, believing it and saying that things made a lot more sense now. After this, Naruto informed them of their next mission, and the group began making their way to the Land of Wind. It was Team Kakashi and Team Guy as always. They were making great time. Eventually, as they were headed toward the hideout, they spotted a group of shinobi making their way back to the village. Among them was Kankuro, who had been wounded and was barely making it. The group seemed to become defensive, wondering what Konoha shinobi were doing in their nation. Naruto told them that Konoha had been requisitioned to help in locating the Kazekage. Kankuro said that he never recalled sending any message to Konoha. Naruto pointed to his wound. "Well, no wonder. It looks like you've been poisoned." He looked to Sakura and asked her to begin the process of healing him. And she did so, managing to nullify the poison and crafting an antidote. Naruto told them to get Kankuro back to the village and that they would continue looking for Gaara. The Suna ninja thought this was suspicious as Naruto never even asked for directions. Together, the team made it to the cave where Gaara was being held, and they managed to bring the force field down. Within it, they found the Akatsuki, beginning the ritual to remove the tailed beast, but they managed to stop them before it began in earnest. Naruto began to command them. Sakura, Sasuke, take Sasori. Naruto then turned to Kakashi. Keep your Kamui ready, we need to handle Deidara. Kakashi nodded. As the group began to fight, Naruto stayed on the attack, utilizing his Kurama Chakra mode to attack Deidara, all while Kakashi stayed in the back to ensure that Deidara couldn't escape. Sasuke and Sakura were facing Sasori when they managed to break through his shell and reveal the real him. He attempted to summon a group of puppets. Sasuke had already learned of this guy from Naruto, so he turned to Sakura. I hate to ask you this, but I'm going to need you to make me a path through with your strength of 100 seal. Once you've broken through them, I'll rush with my Chidori and go for the killing blow. Sakura nodded. You got it. Sakura activated her seal and began to face the performance of 100 puppets. She knew she didn't need to destroy them all. All she needed to do was move with strength and speed and burst through as many as possible right in front of her. As she began, Sasuke began charging his Chidori, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As Sakura made her way through, she told Sasuke to go. Before the pathway could close up, Sasuke had already threaded the needle. Sasori attempted to close up the pathway at the end to block Sasuke's advance, but found his puppets further destroyed by Sakura, who opened up the path again. Sasuke pushed through, and before Sasori could do anything, Sasuke had punctured his heart. Sasuke pulled out his hand, feeling splinters inside. He shook his hand, a little weirded out by how much blood there had been within the puppet. He looked over to see Naruto pushing Deidara back. Naruto attempted to capture him, but instead Deidara decided that he would rather leave behind an impressive crater than be taken hostage. So he activated his C0. He opened the stitches on his mouth and chest and began to feed it explosive clay. Naruto was a little shocked by this. Frankly, he did not expect it. He didn't actually know about this technique. He never asked Sasuke how Deidara died, only realizing that Sasuke had killed him in his search for Itachi. Deidara began to laugh maniacally. A true artist suffers for their art. Art is born in the heart, it flows through the veins, and it's released in a vibrant explosion. I will be the most well-remembered artist in the world! You're friggin' crazy, Naruto shouted. Deidara laughed. All the best artists are. You should feel blessed. You'll become part of my art. An explosion that'll cover 10 kilometers, farther than you could ever hope to run. Make your peace with God, gentlemen, and prepare to be immortalized with me, as the one who killed the Kazekage and left a permanent scar on the land of wind. The darkness in Deidara's veins continued to expand as it seemed his body was slowly pulled into the mass of clay. All that remained was a tiny, dark orb. Oh no. What have I done? I miscalculated, Naruto shouted. As the orb began to crack, light started to emit from within. Naruto closed his eyes in preparation for the end. Then, suddenly, nothing. Naruto opened his eyes to see that nothing had happened. What? He looked back and saw Kakashi standing there, panting, his Mangekyo Sharingan bleeding ever so slightly. Naruto realized what had happened. Kamui. Naruto ran to Kakashi and hugged him. Kakashi-sensei coming in clutch. Gaara was speechless. Naruto walked over to him. It's good to see you again, Gaara. After returning to the village with him, Naruto knew that any suspicions that could have been floating around would eventually be quelled by Gaara. They would return to Konoha to inform Tsunade of the events that transpired. Tsunade would seem rather pleased with them, but now that they had returned, they needed to decide what to do with the Akatsuki. They began to plan it out. Naruto said that it would be much too dangerous just to straight up attack Ame at this point. He says that they're very dangerous and that even if they sent elite shinobi in, it would still be a bloodbath. They need to take this moment to isolate certain members and attack them. He said that in this timeline, they managed to isolate and kill Hidan and Kakuzu, but it cost Asuma Sarutobi his life. Naruto states that because of this, he requests that Asuma be removed from the battle, and that Naruto be used as the tip of the spear since he's got all the power to flat out smoke those two. And so they allow Naruto to do this. Itachi is sent with Naruto along with Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. They wait for their targets to arrive, and upon the appearance of Hidan and Kakuzu, they spring the trap. Itachi steps out with Sasuke to strike down Hidan, and Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi face Kakuzu, who possesses many hearts, each of which he can turn into a weapon to stand against them. Naruto, in his six-path sage mode, could foderize Kakuzu, and to a point he does. All the while, Hidan faces Sasuke and Itachi in battle. He swings his scythe at them. They're surprised by his strength and his ability to just shrug off their attacks. He uses this confusion to get a hit in on them. After drawing blood from his victims, he takes on a more sinister appearance. He licks Sasuke's blood and attempts to strike himself with a rod. This causes bodily harm to Sasuke. Sasuke coughs up blood and falls to his knees. Itachi would understand this technique quickly. Hidan seems to draw his power from the occult. Upon noticing the symbol on the ground, Itachi realizes he must deal with that. To be frank, his guess was only half correct, as he believed he needed to destroy the circle, when in actuality, all he really needed to do was push Hidan off of it. But it was a good first assumption, worthy of Itachi's intelligence. Pushing Hidan off of the circle, he erases it. He then begins to go on the offensive as Sasuke sticks back to tend to his wounds. Sakura rushes over to Sasuke to begin healing, while Itachi continues to do battle, using his Susanoo. Sasuke stands. I gotta help. But before he can enter the fray again, Hidan licks more blood from his scythe and creates another circle. It's this that stops Itachi from delivering the fatal blow. I don't care about me. We need to defeat them if we're going to save the world. Itachi knows this, but he can't bring himself to do it. Sasuke charged with his Chidori. I'm sorry, Naruto, but Itachi, he'll be a better help to you than I will. He plunged his hand through Hidan's heart, but to Sasuke's surprise, he didn't take any damage. Itachi's Susanoo faded as Itachi fell to the ground, coughing up blood. Itachi! Naruto and the others looked back to see what happened. In anger, Sasuke used all of his strength to push Hidan from the circle. He then took Hidan's own weapon and used it to behead him. He would mutilate Hidan beyond recognition before rushing to Itachi's side. But it was supposed to be me, Sasuke shouted. Naruto knelt down. Why? Why did this happen? This was just so unlucky. Naruto looked down. Once again, the hands of fate demanded that history play out how it originally had. It was bouncing back, demanding that Naruto stop altering things. Itachi perished there in Sasuke's arms. Sasuke was emotionally scarred from this and seemed to almost pull away. He had originally been on board with the idea of changing things, but now he wasn't so sure. He didn't want to keep losing things. Sasuke pulled back. Naruto attempted to talk with him, but Sasuke refused. No, I don't want to talk about it. We've been trying to do good, but this happened. We're attempting to change so much that I'm afraid it's going to destroy everything I love. The Sasuke in your world may have lost his brother too, but you stopped that. I'm not that Sasuke anymore, Naruto. I never was. You ensured that, but I'm still losing my brother, and I'm afraid I'll lose a whole lot more if we keep changing things. I'm done. Don't tell me to change anything anymore. Don't involve me in this anymore. Sasuke, you can't. I need you. And if you don't at least play your original scripted part, the world will suffer. Life isn't a movie, Naruto, Sasuke called out. You can't rewrite the script. I'm a free person with feelings and emotions and a life. You're playing God and attempting to mess with fate. It's gonna bite us all. Stop. Leave me out of this. From there, Sasuke left Team 7, giving Kakashi his official resignation. Sasuke left being a shinobi altogether and moved on to the Konoha police force, leaving Naruto alone to fix it. As he sat on a bench, Naruto felt as if the world was coming to an end. It was then that Jiraiya approached him with a popsicle. Jiraiya always seemed to sense when things were going wrong. What is it, Naruto? Naruto sat down and sighed before turning his gaze back up at his mentor. Sasuke left. He's not even a shinobi anymore. Do you know how much that changes things? Without Sasuke, the world would come to an end. I knew it was a mistake telling others about this. Jiraiya shook his head. No, Naruto. There was no mistake. You mean well. But I think it's time for us to face reality. Fate doesn't like it when we interfere with its natural flow. I think we need to accept that the stuff that happened was destined to happen, and we shouldn't try to change that. Trust me, as a writer, the more you attempt to change the ending, the worse things play out. Naruto shook his head. But I don't want to lose you. Jiraiya offered a kind smile to the lad whose eyes were now overflowing with tears. You can never lose me, even if I die. Everyone dies eventually, Naruto. And if my time comes before yours, that doesn't mean I no longer exist, nor does it mean I don't love you anymore. It simply means that I've moved on to another place. You need to find solace in this and attempt to bring things back on track. And I think that the last thing we should do is go into Ame and attempt to stop the Akatsuki. When we do this, you should consider focusing on making history happen as it was always meant to, okay? Naruto sat there. How can I? How can I go on knowing that those I love will perish and I can't stop it? Jiraiya looked up into the sky. You know, when we go to Ame, we will likely kill Nagato. For years I trained him. I loved him then as much as I love you now. I am going to kill him and I'm dying inside because of it. But I know that that's what's best for the world. And if one day I too am killed, I'll go to him and be with him again. I know you're stressed, but it's the way it must be. So resign yourself to it. You've already done a lot to help the planet. In simply saving the Uchiha, you probably made the future better than it already was. It's time to cash in your chips and stop gambling before you lose it all. Jiraiya stood and walked away. Naruto knew he was right. So he stood and went to Sasuke, who was doing his daily duties. Sasuke looked back at Naruto and showed an obvious dissatisfaction with his presence before turning back to his work. What? Naruto stood there. You were right. Sasuke stopped for a moment before continuing. About what, Naruto?
About my meddling with fate. I kept pushing things to change, and all it's doing is causing fate to bounce back. It's time to leave the flow of the river alone. Let it go where it wants, and in doing so, hope that it doesn't punish us further. But there is something I need from you, Sasuke. I need you to come back.
Sasuke looked back at him. I won't, Naruto. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Naruto looked down.
In the original timeline, you returned to help us during the 4th Shinobi World War. Only together we could seal away Kaguya.
Kaguya won't rise, Sasuke said. They can't take the tailed beasts anymore. Whatever happens, it's over now. Naruto shook his head.
Fate has a funny way of bouncing back and making things happen when they're not supposed to. Please, just one last time. Not to change things, but to ensure that everything returns to the way it should be. So fate stops punishing us.
Sasuke looked over his shoulder.
Just one last time.
After that, no more. Naruto nodded. And so they began setting up for the battle. Naruto took Kakashi to the side.
Kakashi-sensei, I need to tell you something that I should have told you a long time ago. I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to handle it, but it's best that I let you know now.
Kakashi looked at him with curiosity. Well, what is it? Naruto then began to explain.
Your old teammate, Obito Uchiha, he lives.
Kakashi's gaze turned more serious. What?
Naruto nods. In the past, he was saved by an elderly Madara Uchiha who has since died. He passed his will on to Obito. The death of Rin drove Obito to darkness, and now he's attempting to use the Eye of the Moon plan to create a world of dreams where she still lives. He's lost his way. I don't know if we can save him. Fate keeps bucking against me. I'll trust your judgment, Kakashi-sensei, but I must inform you that you're the only one who can stop him. His powers are based in Kamui, and they make him intangible, but you can use Kamui to stop him. Do you understand?
Kakashi nodded. After this, they began to make their way to Amigakure. Once they got there, the forces of Konoha began to make their way in secretly. Naruto would use Sage Mode to try and sense where pain was and would lead them there.
Our priority targets are Nagato Uzumaki, Obito Uchiha, and Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu is one of our greater opponents. If anyone sees him, kill him on sight. Do not take him prisoner.
The group agreed and then split into 3 different groups. Naruto and his squad went after Pain, Kakashi and his group went after Obito, and Sasuke's group went for Black Zetsu. Naruto and Jiraiya confronted Pain.
Are you sure he can't be saved? Jiraiya asked.
Naruto looked back.
He could be, but in the end he had to die. Fate would push it that way.
Jiraiya thought about it.
So let it be done. No matter what happens, grin and bear it.
The two moved on to fight Pain, with Jiraiya entering Sage Mode and Naruto entering 6 Paths Sage Mode. The two would rush Pain. Diva and the other paths attempted to hold them back, but frankly, Naruto was so strong at this point that they were hardly a threat. With his truth-seeking orbs, Naruto would be capable of negating much of their jutsu. All the while, Obito and Kakashi met. Kakashi Hatake, the Leaf's white fang. Dispense with the theatrics, Obito. Take that damn fool mask off. The masked man was stunned, but slowly he did as bidden. He bore to Kakashi his twisted and scarred face. All the while, Sasuke and Sakura were facing off against Zetsu. The raid was going just as planned. With Naruto's direction, the battle turned in their favor. The Akatsuki were caught off guard. One by one, each member fell. Zetsu first, then Pain, and finally Obito. Naruto had instructed that they should give no quarter. He felt like an absolute monster, but also that this was what was best for the world. And as hard as it was, they fulfilled their mission. Naruto stood there and watched as Jiraiya cradled Nagato's body in his arms. Naruto slowly began to cry as well. Elsewhere, Kakashi stood over Obito's body and looked into the sky as if begging Rin for her forgiveness. And with that, the battle came to an end. Everyone went home. Despite what they had just done, they went home. There was no excitement or glory in it. They didn't feel like heroes, they felt like devils. Returning to the village, however, they found it devastated. What? Above the village hovered a certain being. He turned to face them. Ishiki, Naruto questioned. The Otsutsuki looked down on him questioningly. You know my name. How so? Naruto was stunned. No matter, the man said. I have come for the Nine Tails. I will soon visit each village to claim what's mine. How are you here? Naruto asked. Your body shouldn't be strong enough for this, he cried out. Ishiki was even more curious to this. I sense the threads of fate have you ensnared, young one, he said. I allied with a certain scientist who provided me a new vessel, one made of the cells of your first Hokage, a vessel that could hold my soul and bear my strength. But little did I know what I could get from this. Suddenly, with a flick of Ishiki's hand, a grove of trees appeared before them, each one with a vine intent to destroy them. Naruto and his group dodged. Landing to the side, Naruto looked around and realized that fate was still punishing them. The timeline had been sped up. Orochimaru was the center of his miscalculations. If only he had killed him that day when they recruited Tsunade. But then again, if he had, there's no telling what he would face here. The very fabric of space and time was buckling under the paradoxes Naruto had introduced. Naruto was watching this occur. He was watching his home burn and his world be lost due to his actions. He had been but a single man who believed he could play God. He thought he understood the future and how to affect it, but all he had done was ruin his chances at a perfect world. There was only one way to set this right. Kurama, are you with me? The tailed beast nodded. One more time around. Together, they activated their Baryon mode, with Naruto supplementing it with his six-path Sage mode. All of this together felt like Naruto's body might just burst at the seams. But with this power together, he knew that they had a chance. He launched up into the air at Ishiki and struck out at him. Ishiki would respond by attempting to drop cubes on him, but Naruto dodged as if they weren't even there. With his Sage mode active, he knew that he and Kurama could last a little longer, but not by much. As Ishiki attempted to fire chakra rods at them, Naruto once more dodged. He rose up into the air and stopped for but a moment to take in the sunlight and the energy around him. He built it into a massive big ball Rasengan. He would come down on Ishiki and strike him with it, completely evaporating him. He then lowered to the ground as the chakra around him faded. He fell to his knees and then upon his face. Jiraiya ran over to him. Naruto! Naruto! Naruto opened his eyes. I screwed this all up, Pervy Sage. Jiraiya shook his head. No, you saved the village. Naruto laid there and looked at him. Pervy Sage, I shouldn't have messed around with fate. This is the price we pay. The more we dabble with destiny, the more it punishes us. I had a perfect world, and I foolishly thought that I could make it better. I can't control, nor can I predict what'll happen. Perhaps it's best that we don't know the future, but take it as it comes. Jiraiya held him as Naruto began to cry. I'm gonna try again, but next time around I won't be able to save you. Jiraiya nodded. It's okay, Naruto. It's okay. Just know, when I die, I'll be thinking about you. Naruto took one last look at his friends. He then closed his eyes and suddenly he awakened, screaming and crying into the world. His little eyes were hazy, but he thought he saw Kushina and Minato there. Despite being an infant, he vowed within himself to no longer fight fate. The world would be perfect. He just needed to believe it. And that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Despite everything Naruto tries, fate tends to favor its original course. Now, of course, if we were to do this with just the concept that Naruto knows everything and remove the theatrics, then literally everything in the series doesn't happen, and that's just a boring story. But if you ask me, I think the Naruto series is better with its tragedies, as those were how Naruto developed into who he was. Without them, there's a chance he could have ended up any number of ways, and the story would have ended with a hero too weak of will and heart to drive off the darkness. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a comment and click the like button. And if you wish to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Until next time, peace.